So we're actually going to go ahead and talk about teeth. Okay. I did see this post on Threads. All right, so let me go ahead and read it. And this is saying, help me understand dental insurance. Pay $200 per year in premiums. Have a $50 deductible, 2 preventative cleanings, and 1 x-ray is free after the $50 deductible. Minor stuff is covered at 80%. Major stuff is 50%. $1,000 maximum insurance payout per year. Why wouldn't I pay the $100 per cleaning and then negotiate as a cash patient directly with the dentist if needed for minor or major stuff? At this point, it feels like I'll have $800 to use or keep. So I'm gonna keep it real. I'm kind of in the business of dental work. Most really dental insurance, a lot of it is a scam. But dental work, some of it is too. Okay. Because you have some offices, some doctors who will go and say, well, we got to go and pull that tooth, or we got to go ahead and do this, or just let me get this done and let me go ahead and do this. Give you all these procedures. You get your treatment plan. It say you owe, to get everything done, $8,000, $12,000. And you're like, well, how am I going to pay for this? And they're like, better use that insurance. Or let's go and say you got like an SRP. Let's say you got periodontal disease, for example. Every insurance is different. It just depends on what company you have and what plan you end up getting. Okay. Because for me, when I used to have insurance, I had Delta Dental and they had two. I first started out with the original one. And then once the new year started, that's when I got my other one. I got the higher tier because I knew I needed a crown. So I was like, okay, because the crown that I had it when I was in middle school, and it was, you were seeing like the other tooth beneath it. When I got the root canal, it was not looking good. Okay. And I need a new one. Okay. So I was like, okay, let me go ahead and get a different tier. Okay. Because I only had two. Okay. So I got the higher tier, so it covered more. All right. And I wasn't even paying much per paycheck. Per paycheck, I was paying like $7, $8. So I wasn't even paying that much in the grand scheme of things. Okay. But let's say you are diagnosed with periodontal disease. Okay. And they're like, okay, well, we got to give you we can't just have you on perio maintenance. We have to go and give you the SRP, the scale and root planning. Okay. And then the laser as well. Okay. I don't know if every office does laser as well, or is it just the SRP? I don't know. I know the one I'm at is both of them. Okay. So it's like, okay, well, I can go ahead and do that. Insurance says, oh, you getting that SRP? Yeah. Oh, I've been saving up. I've been putting all this money into my insurance. Yeah, I'm finna utilize it. We only paying 50% of that. What? You only paying 50%? Yeah, but I mean, this thing costs like $100 and some dollars. You mean you only paying 50%? Because mind you, if you got SRP, that stuff gonna cost you a few $100. Okay. So let's just say they're like, okay, we're gonna just pay you 50. Okay, so I have to pay 50 for it. Okay, well, all right, fine, I'll do it. And then they got a laser. Oh, we don't cover laser. Oh, you don't cover laser, so what do I do? You just gonna have to pay. We ain't paying for that. So my thing is like this: why you got insurance that don't pay? And then when they actually get you on that perio maintenance, schedule, okay, and you're like, okay, well, what do you recommend, hygienist? Oh, I recommend that you come in 4 times a year. Okay, that's not bad. Insurance coordinator. Wait, what say you? What does my insurance say? Insurance said they cover 2 cleanings a year. Okay, so they said they recommend that I come every 4 times, so every 3 months. Well, that means I have 2. So who's paying for these? Are you paying for those out of pocket? $169 each, or whatever your office fees are. Now you're like, whoa. Well, what am I going to do? And then even if they cover 2 cleanings, because some insurances will say we cover your prophylaxis cleaning the same as your perio maintenance cleaning, right? But then you have some that'll say we cover your prophylaxis. That's your regular clean that you get at 100%. but we cover your perio at 50, 30, 80%, depending on which one you got. So let's say it's 80%. So you're still paying X amount of dollars every single time that you go in. Every time you go in, you're still paying. So you're paying this insurance, but then you're still paying a copay every time you come in because your insurance said, I'm not paying for all that. Not my problem. So why am I paying? You know what I mean? And you have some places who are doing like membership programs, which, you know, was beneficial to you, where you may pay, let's say, a total of like $450 or something like that a year. You get the x-rays, you get all that, and you get the, 4 cleanings, perio cleanings every year. For some people, that's worth it. You know what I mean? But then you have other people who may need fillings and all that. Insurance, I need fillings. How much you paying? How many you need? Well, I need about 5. What's some office fees looking like? Because you need about 5 and we only got you covered, as the post said. You only got a max of like 1,000 that we're willing to pay for. So you need a perio and you got fillings. I don't know what you're going to do, but it looks like you out of luck. Okay. So, I mean, that's essentially how this looks like. I was actually talking to this lady who used to work at my job because I was like, dang, is it that bad? Because at the office that I'm at, Cigna and Delta Dental, they do not take. So I was like, man, is it really that bad to just take Delta Dental? Okay, I said, it's crazy. And she was saying, let's say, for example, you need a crown. And crowns and root canals. Okay. So she said, let's just say you need a crown. Let's say it costs $1,600 for an office fee. Let's just say. Okay, $1,600 for an office fee for a crown. All right, cool. And let's say the insurance says I only will pay $1,000. So now the $600, we're just going to put that to the side, okay? They say I'm only going to pay $1,000. Okay, cool. But that's the max. Like, that's the max I would ever pay. But I'm only willing to, of that $1,000, I'm only going to be paying around 60% of that. Okay. I'm only going to pay as much as 1,000, but I'm only paying really 60% that I'm going to cover because of the plan you got. Okay. So around $600. I'm like, okay, so now I owe $400, right? 600, 400, it's $1,000. No, the office fee is $1,600. They said we're only going to pay $600. The office fee is $16. You're $6. That's $1,000 that still is owed. I said, oh. So you have some companies that they'll look at your office fee and say, we ain't paying that. We're going to pay this amount total, but of this amount total, we're only paying a percentage of this amount. I don't care what your little office fee said. I don't care. I don't care about that. Okay, we're only going to pay this. But if this is the office fee, that little gap or that big gap, that still is due by you. Okay, so you have a lot of that. You also have insurance companies going and saying, oh, well, you owe, give me images, right, for the claims. You go ahead and send them some images. And then they're like, I don't like that x-ray. Denied. Okay, well, let me go and give them another image. Let me go and your notes don't seem right to me. Even though I don't have any kind of medical training, never went to dental school, none like that, hygienist school or dental assistant school. Denied. Okay, and this also happens in the medical field as well for the rest of your body, where you go and say, well, my patient needs X surgery. I'm only going to pay 20% of that. But they need it. They need it for this. I don't think they do. Did you go to school for this? No, but I'm the insurance company. I know more than a doctor. And then at the end of the day, now you got this whole bill. Now, if we had universal health care, everything was one nice little, we wouldn't have these issues, okay? But that's not what we have. What we have is this bullish here. So I completely understand what this guy is saying in this post, because it's like, Get your 2 cleanings. But then with the cleaning, you got to see like what are people's office fees. Where I'm at, regular cleaning, no period, nothing. Just the cleaning. 114. So then you got to add in there like, okay, is it worth it? Should I do a membership? How would this look? Is it worth doing this? You got to look at all that kind of stuff. That's why you have a lot of people who say, you know what? I'm going overseas. Whether they're going for the veneer treatment, which, Lord, a lot of y'all just need some braces or some Invisalign and floss your teeth. And if you want to put some baking soda in your mouth and swish it around, that's what a lot of people need. Not some dang veneers. You 25 years old and you getting veneers. You 35, 40 years old, you got veneers. They ain't for you got healthy teeth but your teeth crooked. Okay, that's not what they were for. But whatever, because people walking out with white picket fences and thing looks so thick, it looks ridiculous. But outside of that, if you don't go to the right person, because I have seen, it was this one guy in Houston, he actually did some work on this one guy. So, oh shoot, his teeth look amazing, and you wouldn't even know. But anyways, you have a lot of stuff where it's like, for like major stuff, like the guy was saying, major procedures that need to be done, 50%. When I need to get my crown redone that I had since I was in like 6th grade, I think I was in like 6th grade when I got it done. And so what was I, like 11? And then I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, I think it was. I think I was like 23 or 24, something like that. Anyways, that's when I had to get it. So, I mean, you see from like 11 to like 24. So, it started coming down or whatever. So I needed a new one. I had to pay $1,000 out of pocket. That's just to replace it. So that's why I said, okay. And that's with the top tier insurance that I was offered at my job at the time. So it's like, it ain't cheap. You know what I mean? That's why, if you could prevent a lot of this stuff, try to do it. Floss. I'm not one of those people that floss every day. I floss like every other day. You know what I mean? Sometimes every other day. Okay. But I floss like 3 times a week or something like that. I know you're supposed to floss every day, but I floss like 3 times a week. Do that. Brush your tongue, brush your teeth. I used to have a lot of staining back here, because I wasn't brushing as much behind the teeth as I should have been doing. But you go ahead, brush behind teeth. Now my teeth look better back there because I'm actually taking the time to do it. You have some people who use a water pick. I personally don't have one of those. I just don't have really any interest in that. I just use a regular pick and call it a day. Also, for me personally, I have this, I use 2 toothbrushes. I use a manual one sometimes if I don't feel like turning my electric on. Then I got my electric one. It's that round one, that Oral-B one. It's a little pricey. Now you could get the cheaper ones, but I got like the more pricier one. It's like $60. But this thing is amazing. Okay. And you just bring it, and then the inside, then the top, and it has like a beep on it. So like every 30 seconds, 30 seconds this side, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, there's just certain things you should just invest in. Okay. Maybe do some salt water rinses, and salt is like hardly any money. Okay. You could do some of that. Also I do like some oil pulling. I do that not every morning, but I do it like 4 times a week. Where I just put like some coconut oil in there, pop it in the microwave to melt it down, and then I have like some clove oil, and I put some of that kind of like numbs your mouth a little bit, and I put some of that in there, and I just swish it for about 10 minutes. I know some people say like do it like 20-30 minutes, but I swish it for about 10 minutes or so, and that's what I essentially do for me, because I'm like, okay, let me try to prevent as much as I can, or make things so that they don't get worse. You know what I mean? Especially when times are hard out here, any kind of other things you can do Try it if you have some in-home whitening kind of stuff you do, baking soda, peroxide, or whatever you use. Make sure you research it and make sure it's good for you at the end of the day. But let's continue looking. I actually do have a video that's by a More Perfect Union, and this one's actually in regards to those kind of lines of credit for medical procedures. So you have you have other ones, but you got the big hitters, the Alpheon, and you have the Care Credit. But let's go ahead and take a look at this lady's story.
Victoria Mangrum went to the dentist for a consultation for teeth pain in 2022.
And they stated I needed all my teeth removed and gave me a price that was outrageous that I knew I couldn't afford. And they said, well, you can apply for Care Credit.
As healthcare becomes increasingly unaffordable for working families, medical credit cards are marketing themselves as a perfect solution.
It's our stress-free credit
Flexible
card.
financing.
The Care Credit card.
So our medical credit card is the cure.
Well, for many, they aren't.
That in many cases, patients who use these products end up worse off.
My credit is ruined.
I feel like I'm being scammed. Pues nos exprimen al pagar todo el interés que tenemos que pagar.
Care Credit really has dominated the market specifically for medical credit cards. Unlike general purpose credit cards, they're typically offered by medical providers, dentist, veterinarian, certain types of clinics, and they're offered in order to allow an extension of credit for that medical procedure at that particular facility.
In 2024, Synchrony Financial, which owns Care Credit, took in $3.7 billion in interest and fees from health and wellness loans. The National Consumer Law Center's report on the medical credit card industry details a number of other problems collected through a survey of consumer advocates.
We also saw reports in our survey about people who are actually fraudulently representing people's income in order to qualify them for financial products, people being charged by that provider for services that actually weren't received.
Victoria decided not to go through with the procedure at that dental office. What she didn't know was that the cost of the procedure was already charged to a Care Credit account in her name.
Months passed. I was done with them and I was still researching other people, And so that's when I started receiving mail about me owing. And I was like, I don't know anything. I'm still walking around with my teeth all jacked up,
She's now being sued for the cost of the procedure she didn't get.
So then I'm laying in my little abode one morning and bam, bam, bam. I'm like, what? And I go in my little box that I'm in here. You've been served? Oh my God.
Victoria thought dental staff were just checking if she was eligible, not actually applying for Care Credit. Consumer confusion like this is understandable when medical professionals are tasked with marketing financial products to patients.
There should be no door in the doctor's office that opens to a bank.
Victoria's court date is set for March 2026.
This is just one of the things, you have everyone who's trying to get money out of everybody instead of helping people out. I mean, something like that, for me, I'm like, well, why are you guys even applying for this person? Why not have them make the decision of, okay, yeah, I want to have it, I want to apply for it or not? Because I'm sure when she saw that bill, she was like, let me go and get a second opinion. But you were already like, okay, let's go run this credit. At the end of the day, it's hard out here. People are struggling. And this is not something that we need. But I do want to end this video off with this lady who was actually very upset in regards to what she was quoted for her dental bill. But before I do that, this is also where I go into saying like, yes, okay, heck, even for certain things, okay, and I know I ain't got any money, but there's certain things I'm like, you know what? I just want to see like what this medical tourism looks like. I already knew, like, I learned about it because I majored in community health. I learned about it when I was in college, about medical tourism, what it all entailed and all that kind of stuff, the do's and don'ts and all that kind of stuff. But I was just like, well, how do people really, like, we never got into depth of like, how do people really find out about it? Especially when you go to a different country where you don't speak the language, so it's like, How, I mean, all these countries, all these medical practices, all these, eye doctors and everything. How do you actually say, okay, this is the one I'm gonna go to because this one has the better rate? I guess you just find a destination. I'm gonna look into this. It's like, I guess you just find a destination and then you're just like, okay, let me go and just go and figure out, go into a forum and see who got the cheaper rates, because I'm kind of interested in looking, in all realness, just to see, like, okay, let's say I do want to go on a vacation, I need one. But it's like saying, okay, let me say I do want to go on vacation, but yeah, I actually want to also see, like, can I get like a 2-for-1? Let me go and see. But let's go ahead and play this video of this lady.
What is the point in having dental insurance if it literally covers nothing? Even the dental hygienist that I had yesterday said that when people ask her what in dental insurance that she recommends, she says none, because it's might as well be self-pay. So I went to the dentist for the first time after like 5 years yesterday, and I was so scared because I know I have a lot of problems. And it turns out I need 3 root canals, 3 extractions, crowns after my root canals, and just fillings. And I have like a really deep cavity on one of my teeth that's causing me like earaches and migraines. And so I was like, okay, my total estimate was $9,115 after like the discounts that they could give me and my little bit that insurance covers. But they had to refer me out for 2 of the root canals. And I guess my dental insurance covers no endo. And it's $1,474. So I was like, well, you might as well just cancel my appointment. There's no payment options. So if you're poor, you're just supposed to suffer. I mean, I'm only 30, so that means I'm just going to call my dentist, tell them, okay, just extract the tooth instead of, I'm just going to extract the tooth instead of having a root canal. That means 6 extractions. I'm going to lose 6 of my teeth. Or I'm just going to stay in pain.
Yeah, this is absolutely heartbreaking to watch. Because at the end of the day, it's like you have this insurance and it doesn't do anything for you. Or it's not doing as much as you would need it to do for you. They're like, well, I'll pay for some of it, but I mean, y'all don't really need that. And then people go and say like, well, just get a different plan. You do realize healthcare is tied to your employer in America. Now, could you go ahead and get another plan? Yeah, sure. Well, know what they quoted me? Because the job I have does not have any benefits at all. Okay. No health, nothing. Vision, nothing. Okay. They have one, but it's like through like some other party that's not really even tied to the job in that way. But like for the medical, they said, I mean, you could use ours. It's a great deal. How much is it? $260 a month. I make less than $40,000 a year. $260 a month in medical. Meanwhile, I found this other place that I do want to utilize when I get some spare cash. And they actually have a membership program. It's $75 for, $75 a month, but they have, I mean, if you're sick, you could go here. You know what I mean? If you need some kind of, jab or something, you go here, and it's all women up in here. So they are women specific, if you need like a breast exam, a pap smear, or, whatever the case may be, they are more specific towards women here. Okay. And it's $75 a month as opposed to what you guys are quoting me through some kind of related to the job. But then from what I'm understanding, no one at the job actually has this insurance. Oh, and that's just for medical. That's not for vision. For vision, for my contacts, I got 1-800 contacts. I also got this other place I'm going to be utilizing if I do want another pair of glasses. I don't know. I really like these glasses. I really like them. So I don't know if I'll ever be really changing these out either. Maybe if anything, if my prescription changes, pop out the lenses or whatever. So I'll probably just be keeping these because I really like them. So really outside of that, then it's like, okay, dental, and it doesn't cover everything. You know what I mean? Heck, I don't even have not anymore because like when I had my dental insurance, like I said, I had to pay $1,000 out of pocket, and I'm like, oh, what am I gonna do? You know what I mean? And I remember telling them, I was like, is there any? And at that time, they didn't tell me care credit, Alpheon, nothing. And my credit was pretty decent at the time. They should have said like, oh, yo, we got this Alpheon, you can go and pay a little bit. They didn't say. They were like, it was just $1,000. I was like, huh. I remember I was like, well, can I just? I remember saying like, is there a payment plan? And they were like, well, there's not really. And I said, you know what? I gave him my debit. I said, let me just charge it. I had over $1,000. At that time I had like probably $3,000 or something like that in my debit. But this is the thing. This is what we have to deal with in America, which is the richest country in the entire world. And we can't. I mean, you got citizens literally begging because we're broke. You know what I mean? So I understand where she's coming from in regards to this. But let me know what you all think about this down below.